Welcome to YouTube Land. This is me, Dymock-Johnson, revisiting my topic on fantastic biology, because the sound on the other video was really horrible, terrible, in fact. So we're going to look at it again. And the reason for this is to jazz up your fantasy races. After all, elves are often just humans with Spock ears, an overbearing attitude. Dwarves are short humans who drink a lot and have a bad accent. Halflings are short, hungry humans. Gnomes are short, annoying humans. The other ogres are just big, strong humans. And orcs are ugly humans, also have a bad attitude. So, to jazz them up, we should give them different biologies, different ways of reproducing. Because the way a species reproduces determines an awful lot of its behaviour, even humans. You don't want them all acting like humans. You want them acting like stereotypicalness we have seen in these races. Take elves, for example. Elves have low sexual dimorphism. That means boy elves and girl elves look kind of alike. You can't really tell them apart. And you can have two means of reproduction from them. One, they can be marsupials. Marsupials have a low sexual dimorphism. The female looks very much like the male. They don't ever appear to be pregnant because, well, if you don't know about the thing about the pouches, and then you may not notice, you may never catch on. So, elves can be marsupials. If they are marsupials, they can also have evolved symbiosis with trees. So maybe the pouch is something entirely external to the elf itself. It is, once the small young elfling is born, perhaps it is transferred to a symbiotic tree and grows and develops in some sort of fruit or flower or bolus of the tree. This is actually quite appealing for elves, because this means those sacred groves, those forests they are so defensive of, they are being defensive of it for a reason. They're not tree-hugging hippie environmentalists. They're defending their children. The children do take several hundred years to live, so your 120-year-old elf has spent most of its lifetime growing up in a tree, hasn't had time to learn or develop normal thinky skills. But it's only recently just popped out. But that is why elves live in trees. That is why they wish to preserve their forests, because that is how they reproduce. It is vital to them. So, that's one way to jazz up elves. Another way to jazz up elves that I've used is you make them, each single elf is a personal creation of the elven deity, the elven progenitor. And this goes a long way to explaining why elves are rare, because the progenitor deity only creates elves when it thinks it needs them. Well, it probably doesn't see the point of producing hordes of elves. So they are rare. They are not common. And also this helps explain why your stereotypical elf acts like God's gifts to the world. Because in this case, they really are. And another benefit of having your own person, each elf being a personal creation, is that the gender becomes a very optional thing. The elf may choose to make it male, female, both, or neuter, as it sees fit. So you've got those possible avenues to explore as well. Each elf can be unique. So those are two options for elves. And then you want to get to dwarves. Now your stereotypical dwarf lives in a mountain and mines gold or gems or other precious metals, and is greedy, alcoholic for some reason, and has a bad accent. Well, bad accents we can't do much about. But dwarves could be eusocial. Now, you've probably come across the word eusocial when you learn about bees or ants. In a eusocial system, most of the population is neuter, neither male nor female, potentially both, but neither. And breeding is done by a select few, by a rare few. In regular biology, it is a case of the sisters ganging up on their mother so that the mother does all the breeding. But in a fantasy society, you can make it something for the neuters to aspire to. And for them to achieve this state, they need a lot of wealth. They need a vast amount of wealth. Because whatever it is that they need to make or take or craft the royal jelly equivalent, turn a neuter dwarf into a sexual dwarf, requires a vast amount of wealth. And this is why dwarves mine. This is why they form clans to mine vast resources. And this probably explains why why some dwarves become adventurers, because that is a fast avenue to wealth. They're not willing to wait around and toil for a clan in the hopes of eventually becoming a male or a female. They want to now. They're greedy. They are avaricious. They want all the gold, all the gems. They're probably not as interested in the magic items as such. But they want all the material off, even the copper. Because it is probably a volume of precious metal. Not really the value, but the volume of it. It's probably a vast volume. And so that's how you can have dwarves. Dwarves really do want to mine. They do want gold and gems and copper and silver and every other precious metal on your world, because that is the key to their biology. That is the key to how they reproduce. So, that is how you can jazz up dwarves. They're eusocial. In case you weren't thinking that eusociality is only a thing for bugs, there are several eusocial species of mammals. Cave moles are the most common example. They all live in a very small hive, not as big as ants or the true eusocial insects. But the breeding is all done by a few individuals, and the rest just get on their lives, because in real life breeding does take a lot of energy and activity. If you can fob it off to your relatives who've got the same DNA as you, why not? So, that is dwarves. Halflings. Halflings, or gnomes, I suppose, because they're often in the same niche, have two options again. They can also be a created species. Every gnome or halfling, we'll say halfling from now on, don't really like gnomes, is a gift from the gods. Because, well, a halfling deity or gnome deity was probably at the back of the line. Divine portfolios behind. I mean, what's God, short, stunted creatures. Really, so they're probably not very bright. They're probably not very smart. They probably have not made the connection between sex and babies. After all, it's a god. Where are you going to get that talk from? You don't have parents. You're immortal. You don't reproduce, technically. But, so you've never made that connection. But you definitely need followers. You need worshippers, and so you create them. And so you just create halflings or gnomes or whatever. And you give them to a couple who has been very good. Imagine that. You get your baby with the morning milk if you've been good and prosperous. So this explains why halflings are prosperous, small, industrious creatures who are focused on living quiet, orderly, good lives, because that is how they reproduce. If they fulfill all these criteria set up by their divinity, then they are rewarded with a child. They probably still also have sex because, well, the god never really made the connection, but saw that, it must have been important because all the other races are doing it. But there's no actual connection there between sex and babies for that species. But if they're good, if they're industrious, and this is why, then they get a baby. This explains why halfling adventurers are considered outliers, very strange people, odd, queer is the term you thrown around talking things. But you probably don't want to use that one, given that the word has changed a bit over the intervening decades. But they are viewed as very strange creatures indeed, because who would want to do that? You won't get any children by going out adventuring and facing dangers and doing crazy, outlandish things. No, it's best to stay at home and live a good life and grow crops and do whatever else you have to do. That's how you get children. So there's that option. The other option is that they are egg layers, like the Eleutherians, the earlier mammals, which most of them are now extinct, except for a rare few. They're egg layers. That is why they burrow. That is why they dig. They are an older species, more ancient, more primitive than more modern species. So they still lay eggs. They lay them in clutches and they incubate them and they dig them in burrows. Perhaps this is more suitable for gnomes. Maybe gnomes have claws on their head because they have to dig through the earth. And maybe claws on their feet because they push it away. They are burrowing mole-like things. They are very small because they are a first created species. They burrow, they hide, they lay their eggs, and they've been pushed out to the margin. That is why you do not often see a gnome. They are rare, they are odd, their time has long passed. So, that's me on gnomes. Orcs also have two views of creation. Some orcs are perverted elves. They are wrong. They have been captured by the god of the orcs, who's very jealous of the god of the elves. Watch my video on orcs to see what I think. My main thoughts on the origins of orcs and elves. And so, some orcs are kidnapped, twisted, perverted elves. These are very old orcs, very powerful orcs, very strong orcs, possibly not your typical cannon fodder orc. And maybe your PC with its heroic attributes is one of these recently twisted and perverted orcs. Or half-orcs, I don't really care. Silly term, really. But that is how you can have orcs. The other way you get orcs is litters. They do pop them out like rodents. They breed incredibly fast. And they probably have breeding pits wherever they live. They throw all the new orclings into the breeding pits where they grow and swarm and fight each other. And every once in a while, a mature orcling crawls out of the pit and grabs a weapon and is ready to be part of the horde. So that's how you can jazz up orcs. So, hopefully there are some different biologies, some different ways of reproducing, and explains how your fantasy races are the way they are, and how it makes them different. They're not just short humans, angry humans, proud humans, or drunk humans. They are actually different races, because they have different biologies.